Okay, let's go to chapter 4. And now comes the exciting part, because we're going out of this world. Look how chapter 4 starts. And after these things, I looked, and behold, a door standing open. Now, one of the things you'll pick up as you're reading through the Bible is there are these repeated phrases. One of the repeated phrases in the book of Revelation is open. Things open. Like here, a door opens. Now, if you just look across the page in my Bible, on the next page is chapter 6. It says, and then I saw, and the Lamb opened one of the seals. And then if you look at chapter 9, here's another one of the openings. Chapter 9, verse 2. And it says, and he opened the bottomless pit. And so a fascinating thing to do is look at all these kind of like linked together openings that are in the book of Revelation. But what opens in chapter 4, verse 1? A door to heaven. I think it's good for us to stop our mundane lives of wearing out clothes and rusting cars and, perpetually being hungry, and it's cold and the snow is all dirty and it's raining. We live in this world, and it's nice to stop. And our connection with God is regularly looking through that open door into heaven. See, our citizenship, Philippians 3:20 says, is where? In heaven. You and I are pilgrims and strangers here. And that is for a teenager and a college age and a millennial and all these different designations we give for people, that is so remote. But it's the orientation that God gave the people facing the most horrible time of life that's never been in history and that we're headed into. See, we're headed into the darkness. Our world is coalescing and getting completely connected to the point that one person can text someone else that they should take their money out of a bank in California. That's what happened with the Silicon Valley Savings Bank. You all heard of SVSB if you watch the news at all about business. A bank in California failed because one person texted another and said, take your money out now. And they texted on Tuesday. And the run started in milliseconds. Why? Because we all have phones. And they all started going on their mobile app and pulling their money out of SVSB, transferring it. And now we have a banking crisis in America. Jamie Dimon, the president of Chase, and all those people in New York, they say that probably half the banks in America are insolvent. You know what that means? They have more debt than they have deposits. And if you take your deposits out, they're going to have to sell that debt, which has, in economic terms, unrealized losses. In other words, they have something they paid $100 for and it's worth $30. But no one knows they've lost $70 till they sell it. That's what's going on in America. How did that happen? Peter Thiel, of course you have to be Peter Thiel, he's the one that started PayPal, he's the one that started, what else did Peter Thiel start? Well, he's the one that he's just a mega early guy, friends with Elon and all the rest. He texted his closest friends, said, get out of SVSB. Bank run for the world. Now Credit Suisse dropped and First Republic dropped and all that other stuff. Okay, so how do we get out of this dismal, mundane world? Looking through the door. Heaven, I want to remind you, because God reminds us, is a real place that exists at this moment. And in chapter 4, a new scene unfolds before John. It's the throne of God. Now, Jesus introduced this scene often. In fact, look at this. This is how big the throne is. We're in chapter 4, 13 times the throne is mentioned. It's only mentioned 5 times in the first 3 chapters, and then 13, 5, and it kind of dissipates and it's not in a few of the chapters, but boy, we're in the mega throne chapter. Talking about what towers over us every day, the throne of God. Why is that important? Because Jesus said during his earthly ministry You and I are to pray to our Father who's sitting on that throne in heaven. And he said, all of your life unfolds before the throne. When I was a little boy, I used to have an ant farm. You know what an ant farm is? It's a little square like this. It's about as thin as my Bible. Glass, a frame and a little place to drop in little drips of stuff and crumbs, and you fed your ants. And it was so thin that my ants made all their trails, and you could see all the way through the trail. In other words, there's no place any of my ants could hide. It was so thin that you couldn't hide from me watching. There was no place that they weren't clearly in front of me. And I used to sit for hours and watch my ants, and I would drip in and give them crumbs and enjoy it. And then one day, I realized that life for us is lived exactly in front of the throne of God. Did you know none of my ants could see me? I would wave at them, I would shine lights at them, they would just do their thing. They never appeared to notice I was there. They didn't see me, I was too big. Did you know we're like ants? If you really understand what Isaiah says, in front of God's throne, God is looking at the beginning and the end and everything in between simultaneously happening in front of him. In other words, we're in the ant farm of time. We're bound by time and space. He is not. He is above it. He transcends it. He created it. He's beyond it. He pre-existed and forever and everything else and self-sufficient. And we're trapped in here. And you know what he says? You want to change your life from being an ant trapped in an ant farm to what I designed life to be? Start looking more often at the throne, at heaven.